Rule number 5 of good authority. It is not self-protective, but bears the costs. And in explaining this one, I couldn't help but think of Judah. You think about Judah in the earlier chapters of his story, where he's using women, where he uses his own brother and sends him off, participates in sending him off to slavery. But eventually, when you get to the later chapters, Judah seems to have some sort of conversion, right? He changes to the point where he offers his own life in place of Benjamin's, if necessary. So this beautiful transformation of using others to bearing the cost, or being willing to bear the cost for others. And that's what good authority does in general. In the book, I tell the story about a 2-star Marine general who, when the Marines did something that got them into trouble, he stepped forward and took full blame and full credit for it, even though finally it wasn't his fault. But he knew as a leader, it was the Marines' responsibility to bear the blame for the mistake they had made. I can think of another time I was sitting in a family room with my 9-year-old daughter on the other side, and we were both comfortably ensconced in our chairs. And I remember asking her, "Sweetheart, can you go get Daddy a drink of water?" What was I doing in that moment? I might have had good reasons to ask my daughter to go do that for me. Nonetheless, I knew what I was doing in my heart, and I was asking her to bear the costs of getting out of the chair and to go in the kitchen and to get me a drink of water. In other words, that was a poor use of authority. I was pushing the costs downward onto her rather than drawing them upward into myself. And as I think about the different rules of authority, or the different principles I offer in the book for good authority, this honestly is one of the hardest ones. To take the blame, to take the punch, to take the hurt, to spend the extra time, to be the hardest to work, to do all you can to draw costs up into yourself, to make yourself vulnerable and spare those over whom you have authority to whatever extent you can. Of course, there's an extent which when you're leading, you ask others to bear certain costs. You say, I need you to complete this. I need you to do that. I need you to storm that hill. So there is a place for that in authority. Nonetheless, something I've learned about good leaders, good authority figures, is they're often the first to arrive, the last to leave, the ones bearing all the stress and pressure. I think of my boss, Ryan. Ryan is the one who's kind of making sure everything is working so that I can get on the track and run, as it were, right? And that's what good authority does. Bears the costs, is not self-protective.